Hello, mine fans. I'm on the way back to the mines tomorrow, not tonight actually, but while I'm still here in New Orleans for one more day, I figured I'd come over here to the neighborhood I used to live in and the house I used to own and tell you the sordid story about my criminal activity here in this city, which has left me with a warrant that still exists for me today. That's right, I am a wanted fugitive as I post this video here in New Orleans. Nobody tell the cops, huh? Okay, so what had happened was one day a few years ago, I was just minding my own business across the street here, not bothering anybody, sitting up in my house, and suddenly there came a knock on the door. And I opened the door because, why not? And there were some police officers out here. Like, well, hi guys, what happened? You live here? Obviously. I mean, yes, sir, I do. We've got a complaint that your chickens are disturbing the neighbors. Oh, that's interesting. I don't have chickens. However, there's a number of feral chickens that run around the neighborhood. Most of New Orleans is infested with feral chickens since Hurricane Katrina let a bunch of captive flocks loose, a decade and a half ago. And these chickens roam the city, and there's a number of them here in this neighborhood, and some of them live under the abandoned house next to mine and in my own house, but they're not my chickens. Well, your chickens are disturbing the neighbors. It's like, well, okay, they're not my chickens, they're the city chickens. If you got a problem with the chickens, you need to talk to Mayor Cantrell. They're technically her chickens. Long story short, a neighbor who lives a couple doors down complained to the city that my chickens were keeping him awake and bothering him and not letting him sleep. So he called the police. He come over and told me about it a few times. I say, they're not my chickens, Well, I'm going to call the police. Well, you do what you got to do. He called the police. The police came over and knocked on my door. And even though I told him, these aren't my chickens, and he pointed the chickens out in the yard. I said, yeah, those are city chickens. They live at the abandoned school here across the street, behind me here. Another eyesore that made it damn near impossible to sell my house for a decent price. Thanks, City of New Orleans. But I was issued a summons to appear in court and explain to the judge, why I was out of compliance with whatever city code covered, my not keeping the city's chickens quiet. So, I called for a supervisor to come out, and the supervisor stood behind his guy, which, it's like, you're issuing a charge that's not criminal because, these aren't my chickens. You can't charge me for not controlling chickens that aren't mine. Well, he stood behind his guy, so I'll just take it to court. Well, I'm not going to go to court. I called the prosecutor's office. And the prosecutor's office at the time, Jason Williams, prosecutor, said, well, show up in court and we'll work it out there. So I'm not going all the way to court for this. Well, of course, we also had some COVID closures of the court system. And eventually the nutcase who called him, he moved away. He's living in Paris now. And then I moved out to the mines and thought, well, okay, that's all done deal. Everybody's gone. No one's here anymore. No case, right? Right, you'd think, but this is New Orleans, a city where, kids carjack women and the mayor shows up to speak in their defense, a city where the prosecutor himself gets carjacked, where pretty much every building gets broken into and every car gets stolen eventually because, hey, that's New Orleans. And crime is rampant, murder capital of the South, of America. And that's all okay, apparently, but my chickens put me on the 10 most wanted list because I suddenly got a postcard back at my mailing address at the mines in big bright letters, we have a warrant for your arrest, sincerely, Orleans Parish Sheriff. What's this all about? Well, you didn't show up for court. You got a warrant, I need to show up for court. I'm like, look, there's no case here. I'm not showing up for court. I'm not going all the way back to New Orleans to show up for court on a case that should have been dismissed. Another call to the prosecutor's office. Again, they refused to dismiss it. So I'm kind of in limbo. It's like, well, okay, if you want me bad enough on that chicken case that I'm not going to fly 1,500 miles back to New Orleans to resolve, I guess you're going to have to come out and get me. So, well, we'll have a warrant in your arrest, and if you get picked up somewhere, you'll be brought back. I was like, I don't think so. So, funny thing is, I've had a lot of contact with law enforcement since, mostly in a friendly sense, because, and the warrants never popped up in the system. Hell, I was still a commissioned law enforcement officer when it happened, and it didn't pop up in my own agency's system. And I did tell them, hey, there's this issue, you need to take care of it. It's like, I will, and I ignored it because I was retiring anyway. But long story short, it's been about 3 years now. I've still got a warrant for my arrest to appear to explain why I have not handled, stray feral chickens that don't belong to me. I mean, you go back to precedent on wildlife, and it goes back to the Commonwealth in Britain, the king's deer. These are the king's chickens, or actually the mayor's chickens. But the city wants to hold me responsible for this somehow in some way, and I haven't responded. But here I am now back in New Orleans, and I'm sure every police car is rolling around the city with a picture of me on the dashboard, getting ready to take me in and build their career on arresting the notorious, chicken scofflaw, now known as the one-legged miner of Tecopa. So I wonder if I can get that cowboy hat, a black hat, of course, because I'm a villain. And well, we'll see where that goes. Meanwhile, I've been back here for 3 days now. I haven't been arrested yet. The SWAT team has not shown up at my undisclosed address in the city. I'm going to fly out tonight, and hopefully I won't be detained at the airport, because I am, after all, the noted chicken scofflaw here in New Orleans. And they've got to get their pound of flesh, chicken flesh, and hold me accountable for not reining in the city's feral chicken population better than I did. So if you're watching this, Prosecutor Jason Williams, Mayor LaToya Cantrell, suck it. One-legged miner, out. Okay, since I'm confessing to all sins in New Orleans, I might as well put this one out there too. Some years back, some friends of mine who live right near the stop sign behind me, they'd been trying to get a stop sign put on this intersection for a long time, but the city was dragging their feet, doing nothing about it. The street in the neighborhood here is kind of an unofficial throughway for people to, skip the traffic lights. So cars blast through here all the time and got a straight shot from one main road to another. Well, after months and months and a couple of years of the city ignoring them in their request for a stop sign, I happened to find a stop sign that had been knocked down in a car accident, a couple miles from here. I threw it in the back of my SUV, and at the time the city was renovating some of the sidewalk right here on this corner, including where the sign currently is embedded. And I came over here one night and stuck the stop sign and its post in the ground where the concrete hadn't been laid in yet. And the city crews came back in and they relayed new concrete all around a stop sign right down here. And doggone if the stop sign hasn't been here to this day, and it works. Cars come by here every hour and they stop just like it's a regular city stop sign. But the city didn't put this one here. The city doesn't know it's here. And just another example of city incompetence headed up by LaToya. Life is great. So here's some people come by waving, actually stopping at the stop sign because, they don't know it's a private stop sign. Once again, City of New Orleans incompetency. So there you have it, folks. The unvarnished truth behind the legend of the one-legged miner. I have a warrant. I'm a wanted fugitive because I harbored wild city chickens and placed stop signs without authorization. Nobody dimed me out, eh? Last thing is, so there we have it, folks. The unvarnished truth behind the one-legged miner. Yes, I have a sordid history and a warrant for harboring, city chickens, and I placed stop signs that shouldn't have been placed. And I know nobody here is going to tell on me, right, because we're all friends. But if I ever see a caravan of New Orleans Police Department cars coming up to the mine, I'm going to know who told on me.